Now
There's
we're
the red dot.
recording. There's the dot for you. So that way you know where we are. All right. You ready to start this program?
Yes, I'm stimulated. I'm stimulated.
All right. Well, I'm stimulated too. I've got my cup of APR. So, you ready?
Sure.
Away we go. 3, 2, 1.
Room 13 News, hard-hitting, compelling, trustworthy, honest and caring, with Rocky with an I and the Mojo River Fish.
Welcome to Room 13 News. I am Rocky with an I.
And I am the riverfish.
Our top story today. Cult of Killer Bees was found dead. They were thought to have committed insecticide.
In other news, disaster struck a ceiling fan convention when Sparkles the Clown and his trampolining sheep hit the floor. According to eyewitnesses, everything was going well until one high bounce, and then the sheep hit the fan.
And finally, a monkey at the Mojo Zoo was arrested today when he began throwing lit feces at zoo employees. The employees were treated at the area hospital with third-degree burns. It's time to party, everybody.
Time to relax.
It is. Put your feet up, get your coffee, make sure it's APR, wipe off the dust.
Here we go.
I got a truckload. You're gonna get it,
I'm back in
and
studio.
you're gonna like it. I forgot about the studio. Welcome to Room 13, everybody. Happy Saturday. We are broadcasting live like we always do from the Desert Air Motel Casino Convention Center, RV Park, Little Chapel, Mini Mart, souvenir shop, firing range, spa, and a whole bunch of other things because we're ever expanding in this place here. Hope everybody's doing well. I am Rocky with an I. You can find me at Rocky with an I on Twitter. That over there is Mr. Mojo Riverfish. You can find him at the Riverfish on Twitter. You can find our show at Room 13 Show on Twitter. You can also find us at Room 13 Radio Show on Facebook. If you have missed or would like to listen to another one of our hilarious episodes from before, you may do so through all of the podcast purveyors, as you all know. You can find us on iHeart Podcast, Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts. And we are also on TikTok. I blame Riverfish.
And soon to be, we have another announcement coming up.
Yes, we have another major announcement. Is this a major announcement that I want to call it? Yes, a major announcement. Yes,
Yeah.
it's a pretty good announcement. We are going to be starting our own YouTube channel soon. We are in the process of getting that worked out. So when we do, we will let you know. So make sure that you follow us on our social media platforms. As we've already said, we're not on Instagram. Sorry, folks. We're just not that fancy.
I don't know how to work it. I have no idea how to Insta.
You know how to work it. You just don't know how to work Instagram.
Oh, I have 4 kids. I know how to work it. I could work it.
Oh, I'm sure you did. That's exactly what got you and Mrs. Fish in trouble, was the fact that you know how to work it.
Yeah, it kind of did it. That definitely did it.
Indeed you did. Indeed you did. Oh, Riverfish. Oh, Riverfish. This has been a long week. It feels like a long week, despite the fact that I was off on Friday. So, as I have mentioned in previous occasions, I did start working for a new employer. And this company is one of the few businesses that will have Good Friday off for their employees. It is a paid holiday.
Very nice.
So I had the opportunity to spend it with my family, which I seldom do because, as you all know, I work 2 jobs and I work 7 days a week. So I was able to go have breakfast with the family in the morning. Then we spent a little bit of time in the pool with the child. And then after that, we became adults for a little bit and we went to have our taxes done. That's just what one does.
Let's see. Friday, I took my wife to a very fancy hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And by fancy, I mean it's fancy. There's a very nice restaurant attached to it. Yes, you can keep winkling your eyes because part of my story this week has to do with something I bought for said weekend.
Brown chicken,
And
brown cow.
yeah, I got myself in trouble. Very, very nice uber fancy restaurant. Have to dress up, suit and tie. There should be pictures floating around somewhere of that engagement.
There's something about well-dressed fish.
Yeah,
There's
if you could
something
dress fish.
about a well-dressed fish.
Yes, I do shine up nicely.
Yes,
So-
you do. You do clean up nicely.
And yeah, but let's do the announcement first. Let's get away with the business before we go any further.
Yes, let's make the announcement. Let me find it here. Our announcement, Terry Steen, we love you. We thank you very much for the donation that you gave for Mojo 50 for keeping this hotel open. We're able to keep Betty, flinging hash in the Dirty Turtle Cafe and Lounge. But unfortunately, we didn't hear back from you about the details that we needed in order to send you your thank you gift of a Mojo 50 t-shirt. So we spun the magical wheel of mystery, and the first runner-up in the contest.
Drum roll. Oh, we need a drum roll. We
Don't
have a drum roll.
a drum roll. I don't even have a fanfare or a da-da-da-da. I don't have anything.
Did Stucci, the emotional meatball, steal it?
I think he did.
Yeah.
I mean, he likes things like that. I don't know why, but da-da-da-da. There you go. Do you want to make the formal announcement of
Yes,
who it is? Would you like to say who it is?
We spun the magical mystery wheel of all of our Twitter followers and helpers and stuff like that, and it landed on the often good-looking, debonair, nicely dressed, and man with a voice. Knights who say, "Nee." Knights who say "nee," you know how to get a hold of one of us, both of us, each of us at the same time. So please do so by any means you see fit and give us your shirt size. I think it's a medium husky. You're kind of muscular that way. And give us your address. And we will send to you by friendly Postal Pete a Mojo 50 t-shirt.
Yes, we promise not to stalk you when we find out where you live.
I didn't make that promise. Okay, fine.
Unless you want to be stalked by us. And if that's the case, then we'll be more than happy to arrange that.
If he wants to be stalked by us, that's not stalking anymore. That's kind of dating. Yeah, he's a good-looking man.
I don't know. I haven't had the opportunity to meet Nee.
Yes,
But you have, so
I will
I'll
send you a
take your
picture
word
of
for it.
me. I'll show you. Actually, what I should do is replace Mr. Branham's picture over here with Nee's picture one of these times.
I'm sure he will be honored, and his children will be honored
You know what? I like
or
that idea even better.
mortified. I don't know.
Hey, listeners, send us a cool picture of yourself. Maybe
Yes,
we'll put you in the studio.
You will be in future be featured on one of our episodes, because for those of you who are listening and you didn't know, we actually release the video portion of this radio show on Facebook and on TikTok and soon on YouTube once we have that channel up and running. So if you instead would like to see us while we're talking to you, you can do so on social media. I don't know why either, but hey, whatever.
You know what?
I'm not here to judge.
We'll put your picture right over Pumpkin Butt. If you look over my shoulder
Mm-hmm.
or over Rocky's shoulder, there is a very, very nice roundish pumpkin butt. I won't say whose it is, but it rhymes with Rusty. Oh, shit, I said too much. So
It rhymes with Dusty.
Dusty, yes.
Yes.
Dusty's pumpkin butt. So we have retails, don't we?
We do. I mean, okay.
Where did Rocky get Fish's new tail, you ask? A retail store. And now, time for retails with Rocky.
I know that we normally don't talk about the Rona and we normally don't talk about, face coverings and all of that stuff because that makes me very upset. But I have to tell you, I have seen an increase of people do this. And honestly, I think that that's gross. I think that people who do that are gross and nasty.
So what did they do?
Okay, so have you ever seen people pre-corona, because apparently this was totally okay before the Rona hit? Have you ever seen the people that will moisten their fingertips with their tongue?
And I don't know why they do that because
And
that's
I don't know why they do that because that's kind of gross.
Yes.
I mean, it's gross. There's no justification for it.
They do it when
Well,
they take pages. They do it when they take out dollar bills, and I don't understand why. I've never done it.
ugh.
I used to work at a strip club. I was. Stop laughing, Erica, Stealthy Jackhole. You right there. I'm looking right at you. Stop laughing. I was the bouncer. What did I bounce? No, I didn't bounce those. I bounced people. So I'm heading you off right there.
I'm sure you bounced people too.
I know where dollar bills have been. I know where 20s have been. I know most
Strippers
$20
are people
bills.
too.
Most $20 bills in circulation have a certain trace amount of cocaine on them. Stop licking your fingers.
Lord knows what other
Nasty.
kind of traces of what.
I've seen girls pick up dollar bills with.
No.
Anyways, tell your story.
So, keeping that in mind, I still see people licking their fingers, moistening their fingertips to count dollar bills, and then they hand them to me. Now, as you all know, I work at the cash registers, and at least 9 out of 10 transactions that I get on a daily basis or on a weekly basis are card transactions. So I don't get to touch the customer's credit cards, debit cards, whatever.
Thank God you got to the next sentence.
Yes.
I don't get to
I
touch
needed
the
to
customers.
clarify that.
I
I
hope
needed to
Kinsey got that.
clarify. Yes.
Kinsey,
yes.
I hope you trap that.
I'm sure he did. But I have noticed people that are wearing single and even double masks, but then they'll start counting their bills, and I was like, just put the bill right there, like just lay it flat on my hands, because
No, that's
Just
like put it on the counter and just slide it across. I'll
gosh.
get to it sooner or later. Nasty.
and even before the whole onset of the Rona, I would always carry a bottle of hand sanitizer, because to me, hand sanitizer is a substitute for hand washing when there's no soap and water accessible. But usually when I'm at the front end restrooms are available, provided they're not being cleaned or that someone didn't stuff a whole roll of toilet paper down one of the toilets and then it backs the whole thing up. But don't ask me why. I know why, but I'm not going to tell you why. Not today. So to me, using hand sanitizer is just supposed to be it's supposed to serve as a Band-Aid before, for when I can't get to the restroom to wash my hands. And it seems that I'm seeing this, and it's A, disturbing, and B, that's gross. So if you people out there are concerned about the Rona, maybe you should stop licking your fingertips to give me bills of money,
Yeah.
because that's
people-
gross. You should be more worried about the crap, literal and figurative, that's on that $20 bill you're about to give me than it is about you just going to the store and walking around.
We should really get a bunch of cash, take a black light, and see how much those things glow.
Oh, no.
Y'all are worried about
No.
bathrooms and hotel rooms? Take the money out of your own wallet and find out how much those things glow. Because holy cow.
Listen, even nowadays, people still go to the restroom and they leave without washing their hands. But these are people that are walking around with face masks, and then when you're not wearing one, either by choice or for medical reasons, they give you the stink eye, and it's like, psh, you went to the bathroom, you didn't even wash your hands. I'd be more grossed out about that than me not wearing a face mask. So And
Yeah,
that's all I'm going to say about that because I'll get on that soapbox very quickly. And we're a non-political show. Hi, everybody at Odyssey. I know that's why you have us here so that we avoid talking about politics and the Rona, but that just needed to be said. Don't be gross. Don't lick your fingertips to touch money because honestly, you also touched that shopping cart.
Yeah. And that's how,
Mm-hmm.
that's how zombie outbreaks go. I'll tie it back to Odyssey. That's how zombie outbreaks started. You
Exactly.
touch
Mm-hmm.
the handle cart and it's kind of, not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Was that in that documentary Contagion?
Zombieland.
How did it all get started? There you go.
There
Zombieland.
you go.
Yep.
Zombieland.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite zombie movie, by the way. Zombieland.
Mm-hmm.
I can watch that anywhere. I mean,
I don't think I remember seeing the second one. I did see the first one. The first one was really good, but not the
second one
second
was
one.
good. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
great. Zombieland.
Good-ish.
Goodish.
Mm.
Goodish. It satisfied the itch. Zombieland, the
And if it
initial
didn't,
one, is a classic.
I'm pretty sure that they have medication and like ointments,
Yeah, there is
and
a certain
salves.
a salve for that. So
All right.
That segment you just can't get enough of. Tales from a Fish starts now.
Your turn.
I have so many stories this week. This week was like off the hook odd,
Plus, you had
disturbing.
stories from last week too.
Yeah, they're starting to stack up. Matter of fact, here's the fun part. I don't remember who said it. I think it was Debbie Treadway. Somebody out there is a sick enough person that inspired me to start writing a book and compiling all of my fish tales into since we're on the topic of bathrooms, a bathroom book.
Yes.
And I'm about quarter way through. I'm a quarter way through of compiling all my stories. And
Do you know how many stories you have?
There's at least 35. I think we're up to 35 so far.
Wow.
There might be more than 35. Because I'm just going episode by episode. I get to listen to all our different episodes all over again. Yay, fun. And
it's quality control.
Yeah, it's quality control. And so I'm about a quarter way through the first segment of the book. So I'm kind of excited about this. It's something I've had on my bucket list. So kind of cool.
Good.
So let's do the first fun story that I told you earlier today, because I gave you half the story, but I did tell you the punchline of the story. You're still hanging there. So if you don't know, I'm a private investigator. So I get assigned different surveillances, different cases here and there. And this morning I went out to a location down in Jamestown. And I looked at the address, I reviewed the case, I did a cursory glance at it. I didn't focus on some important pieces of the case, like the name of the turkey I'm watching. So I got there this morning. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. I've been up since 4 in the morning, so I'm a little tired. The APR coffee's just kicking in, and I'm starting to get my wits about me. And I'm looking at the address, and I'm starting to make sure all the details are there, like the car I'm supposed to be looking for. Here's the address, description of the address, any different little finite details. And I glance at the name of the turkey I'm watching, which caused me to immediately question my sanity and then immediately wonder if I'm being punked by my adjuster, who I then called. And I dialed up Scott, and I'm like,
because
hey.
now did your assignment start? When was it that particular assignment started?
It started this morning at 6 o'clock. It was assigned last night.
It was assigned to you on Thursday.
Yes.
Which is April Fool's Day.
Which is also why I questioned if I was being punked. I'm like, I can't believe they'd go this far and punk me like this. This feels like a punk, though. This seems like an obvious punk. So I call up Scott. I'm like, hey, brother. And he's like, hey. He's like, what are you calling me up so early this morning for? And I'm like, well, I'm looking at this case assignment, and I'm looking at the name on the assignment, and you got to be punking me. I'm like, someone's playing a joke on me. I'm like, I realize I'm the old man of the bunch, and I'm like, y'all are punking me. He's like, what's the name on the assignment? I'm like, his last name is Dover. And he's like, yeah, so? And I'm like, his first name is Ben. He's like, I don't get it. I'm like, say it with me, Scott. He's like, Ben Dover. Ben Dover. And I'm like, yes, You sent me a guy to go watch, and his first and last name is Bend Over. I'm like, really? I'm like, this is really unprofessional of you. He's like, no. He's like, so we're going over.
This is the real Mark.
I'm like looking over all the documents. I'm like, you have social security numbers and driver's license. And I'm like, holy cow. I'm like, someone actually named their kid Ben with the last name Dover. I can't believe they freaking did it, but they did it. They flipping did it. So thus was
what is in a name?
Yeah, and I can't believe I'm assuming that kid got picked on quite a bit when he was a child, because I would have been the first one in line to pick on him too, with the moniker like Ben Dover.
I was going to share a story. I'll share that story when we're off air. I'll share that story when that's going to be part of the bonus content, and I'll remind myself to share a name from a former colleague.
Oh dear.
Former colleague that all I could think of was, what cruel joke were your parents trying to play on you? It's bad enough that you have this unfortunate last name, but that they additionally give you this as a first name is just egregious. Like, what were parents thinking? Apparently not a lot.
Well, speaking of what were they thinking, have you noticed the proliferation of certain commercials on during family time?
I haven't been watching TV lately, so I cannot attest to that, but it definitely happens a lot during a specific time of year that tends to occur during a 4-year period. There's a series of commercials that end up being inserted in between children programs. And I honestly question why these commercials are being aired in children's TV networks that are geared towards children.
Well, 6 o'clock came around, and this commercial popped up.
That's at 6 a.m.
No, 6 in the evening.
Okay.
And mind you, I have a 12-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 16-year-old, plus myself and my wife. And we're all watching TV together, and it's about 6 o'clock, and this commercial pops up, and I'm like, oh no, not this commercial. It's for a certain male enhancement vitamin to help gentlemen of a certain age stand up with pride. Did I do that gently enough?
Be energized.
Yes, to have some kind of stamina. So this commercial comes up, and they
comes up.
Yeah, I didn't even try that one. This commercial comes up, and my 12-year-old is sitting next to me, and they keep talking about erectile dysfunction. And my daughter is kind of looking at the TV kind of quizzically. Now, mind you,
oh no,
I shelter my children very well. They are Disney children to some extent, except for the oldest two, whose sense of humor tends to border on mine.
Fish humor.
Yeah, and I didn't realize how much they actually got of jokes, and they actually get jokes quite well. So the commercial plays out, and I'm like, oh, please. I'm like, do I turn off the TV? Do I change the channels? I'm like, what do I do? And I'm like,
do I explain to them what happens?
I'm like, I don't want to explain this whole thing. I don't want to do the chemistry, the biology, the birds and the bees. I'm like, I don't want to do this. I really don't. I'm like, maybe she won't say anything. But
that's how you delegate that on Mrs. Fish.
I usually do, because I have girls. I'm like, I don't know anything about women besides,
Well, you have four. You have children.
I know
that's about all you know.
And I could see her. I'm like, she's an honors student. She has nothing but 90. Her worst grade is a 95. Everything else is high. She's smart. And I'm like, oh boy, here we go. And I'm like, I'm hoping she's not going to say anything. And she looks at me, and the room goes quiet. She's, Dad. And I'm like,
oh no,
baby. And she's like, they have medication for his pet. And I'm like, what do you mean they have medication? She's like, that commercial, they have medication for his pet. And I'm like, what do you mean? And everyone got quiet. They're all focused in. It was like the room went quiet. Everyone turned their focus. There was a spotlight somewhere in the distance, and it focused on my youngest daughter, who is this angelic little blue-eyed, blonde-haired girl. And she's like, well, his pet reptile has a dysfunction. I'm like, I wonder what the medication helps with his reptile dysfunction. And I'm like, hmm,
Yes, leave it at that. It's, well,
that's not what I said. What I said
It's-
was, do you want to go out for ice cream? Because I can't think of anything else. I'm like, oh.
what happens when your kids grow up too quickly? All right, folks, it's time for our first and only break. We'll see you in about 2 minutes.
If I
Ice
planned-
cream.
If I planned how that ended with the music coming in right there and then, I'm like, it would have been great, but I didn't plan that.
I was looking at the clock and I'm like, we may be able to land this right as the music starts playing.
That's like 2 weeks in a row where I've actually nailed it.
It's like, perfect. So, since we're in between the break and it's just us chickens, so at this new place where I am, I make travel arrangements and I provide per diem checks for employees. And this gentleman's last name was McNutt. 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 His birth name was Irby. Irby McNutt.
Oh my God, that poor guy. He's probably 6'7", 300
Luckily,
pounds.
no. Luckily, he went by his middle name, which is a far more common name, Daniel. So it was Daniel.
Oh,
so
I would
I'm
do
like,
that
thank
too.
goodness. But
Boy named Sue.
it was one of those things. It's like, really, that's his name? Like, okay. I'm like, hey, listen, what's in a name? But I'm like, how unfortunate. It's like, how could you do that to your child? Don't name your child. I mean, unless it's like a family name, that's the only thing that I can think of. I wonder if it's just like a family name and it's just to be used because it's a family name.
Hmm.
But
At a certain
you know.
point, you gotta buck tradition because holy crap, that poor kid.
oh, bucket, all right.
Yeah.
Buck tradition, man.
Do you want me to tell this next story, or do we want to keep on going?
Tell another story. So I owe you.
You owe me.
Welcome back to Room 13. Happy Saturday, everybody. Mr. Fish, how
Yes.
about you share another story with us? Because I do owe you from last week.
You are going to regret this story.
No, I won't.
Yes, you will. Don't drink when I tell this story. People at home, please don't drink when I tell this story because, this is not going to go well.
Hmm.
So, Mr. Fish is spending the weekend in a very posh, nice hotel with Mrs. Fish. And I have friends at other podcasts, other shows outside Mojo, outside Odyssey, outside Spoonie. I have friends over at football networks. I have friends at wrestling networks. And this one show, Mat Men, they're over at a wrestling network. They're two good guys. Nice show. And their product is a male enhancement vitamin that they hawk all the time. It's called Blue Chew. Blue Chew, if you're listening, this is an endorsement for your product. So I've been listening to it for months, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going away. I want to have some fun, and I'm kind of curious, so I bought some. And, it's not frickin' stealthy jackhole. Stop it right now. I don't need it, but it sounds like fun. So,
Allegedly, he doesn't need it. He's just buying it for a friend.
yeah, it's not for me. It's for a friend. So it just, the way they sold it, I'm just like, you know what? It sounds like fun. I'm kind of curious. So I bought some, and it came in the mail in this discreet little package. I ordered it on Monday. It showed up on Wednesday. It was a very
Wow.
quick turnaround. I was really impressed. I was like,
Where did they
I'm like,
ship from that it arrived so quickly?
I didn't look. It came in this cool little discreet brown package envelope, and it just poofed. It was really cool. So I had ordered it early Monday morning, and
It just
Wednesday.
poofed or it just boinged?
Well, that's what it does. So here's the fun part of the story. I got home early. I got home early from work.
Oh no.
Yeah, the kids were at school. No one was home. Wife is at work. It's like 1:00, and I got the mail, and I'm looking at the package, and I'm like, I only spent $5 on it. I'm like, what's the odds it freaking works? I'm like, for $5, I'm like, does it work? I don't know, but it sounds like fun, so let's try it. So what could go wrong? I never asked myself that question, but for once I should have asked that question because it didn't help me in the story. So I'm like looking at the package and I'm reading the instructions, take 30 minutes prior to woohoo time. And I'm like, well, what guy ever knows woohoo time's going to be in 30 minutes? I'm like, I spent $5 on it. I'm like, what's the odds it really works? I wonder what it really does. So I took out 2 tablets.
Oh boy.
I was home alone.
Oh boy.
It's 1:00.
Oh boy.
And by this time it's like 1:30. And I popped 2 tablets. It took longer than 30 minutes to engage. I was at the kitchen table. I had my laptop out. I was doing work. And about 2:15, we had ignition. It worked. It did what it was supposed to do. I was saluting very nicely. I was wearing baggy shorts because I had worked out prior. I did some yoga, so I'm wearing baggy basketball shorts. And I'm like, oh, look at that. That's pretty impressive. Damn. So as I'm ascertaining, I'm like, what the hell? I'm ascertaining. I didn't say anything else like that. As I'm ascertaining what I'm supposed to do at this point, there's a commotion at the front door.
Oh no.
Yes. My kids came home early from school. They got a ride from a friend and they all got dropped off. All 3 of them came bounding in the door. Now I have teenagers. If you have teenagers at home, why are you doing that? You're like leaning into this conversation like, oh my God, what happens next? What happens next? So all 3 of my teenagers come bounding in the door. And usually if you have teenagers, you realize they just get food and they go. They go back to their hole. They go back to their little cave and they don't want to engage.
Traditionally, they stay away from the parental units pretty much from the moment they walk in through the door.
Yeah, not today.
Except...
Not today. Not today. They got their food. They started cooking in the kitchen. And then they all decided they're going to come around and talk to Dad. I tucked so tight into that kitchen table where I'm just like, okay, I don't know what to do at this point. So I'm like, I'm just going to just sit here and do my work. Hey guys, don't bug Daddy. I'm just going to sit here and do work. And they're like, oh, Dad, what are you doing? And they're trying to have a conversation with me and they're lollygagging between themselves. And I'm like, oh dear God, go away. I'm like, and I can't run away because I'm stuck at this point. I can't get up because I'm up. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do at this point? I'm like, well, maybe they'll get bored and they'll walk away. Nope. They want to have conversations and tell me about their day. This is getting worse. At this point, there's a commotion at the door.
Your wife got home.
My wife got home and she had gotten out of work early and she had gone shopping. So I'm a traditional man. When my wife enters the house, I always stand up to greet her. I couldn't do it this time. And she stood there at the door with this look on her face. We've been together for 22 years. We have been a couple. We have been an item. I have done this every time she enters the home. I stand up to greet her. And she enters the house and she's looking at me like, well, I'm like, well, what? And she's like, are you mad at me? I'm like, no. She's like, well, usually you come over and give me a kiss when I come home. I'm like, I'm busy. And she's like, you're not going to stand up and give me a kiss. I'm like, no, I'm just going to be here. I don't feel well. And she's like, well, could you at least get up off your fat butt and come help me get the groceries? And I'm like, no. I'm like, you have girls. I'm like, go get the girls. You have kids to go help you. And she's like looking at me like I'm like lasers through me. And I'm like,
you are the worst man in the world right now.
What am I supposed to do? I'm like, I can't stand up because I already am. And I'm like, I don't know what to do at this point. I'm like, this stuff didn't wear off for 3 flipping hours.
Isn't that one of the isn't this one of the contraindications of if you're standing at full attention after a certain amount of time, you should call a doctor?
It was 4 hours. I didn't get the 4 hours because I would have called the head nurse. I got to 3 hours, and finally all of a sudden it was kind of like, oh good, the flag's going down. Great, fantastic. So yeah, it was my wife's bringing groceries. She's looking at me every time she walks in. She's like, I can't believe you're just going to sit there and just do your work. She's like, I hope you're doing something important. I'm like, I am.
I am.
And she's just like, what are you doing at work? And I'm just like, and I've been writing the same report over and over again for an hour, editing it. I'm just like, I'm answering emails. I'm writing emails. I'm doing everything I can to figure out to make myself.
At this point, you're just going at the keyboard like clickety, 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 click, click, click.
And she's looking at the stove. She's like, you didn't even start dinner. And I'm like, no. I'm like, I did start cooking. I'm like, but I did not start making dinner. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I have no. Finally, I did tell her, after the girls left, I'm like, look, I bought us a party gift for the hotel, and I decided to try it. And she's like, well, does it work? And I'm like,
that's why I couldn't get
yes,
up.
It does. She's like, why would you take it now? And I'm like, well, I've been asking myself that question for 3 hours now.
I'm with Mrs. Fish there. I am with Mrs. Fish there. I mean, I am glad that it worked out for you, because a lot of these products peddled on networks and on TV and things like that don't necessarily work. They're mostly preying on vulnerable old men to pine for their younger years. But that this is something that does work. Just make sure that when you try it, your loved one is nearby and it's just the two of you, so that
it's
if
only one
it does
loved
take
one.
effect, yes, so that if it does take effect, it is the right loved one that is with you.
Yeah, don't take it.
And
Don't take it out in
yeah.
public. Don't take it when you're entertaining. Well, unless you're being entertained. I don't flip and do it. Holy cow! I don't know why I ate it. I had that Alice in Wonderland whole scenario, and speaking
Just
of,
don't. Yes. So,
our studio guest is here.
Traditionally, oh yes, we have a very special guest, everybody. We
gotta go over.
are.
Hold on, I gotta.
Can I? Okay, so while you do that, I'm going to talk about the Spotlight Charity of the Month. Is that okay?
Oh yeah. Oh,
Yes.
That's more important. You're right.
Yes, that's more
I'm gonna
important.
talk
So,
to our. You know what? I'm
yes.
gonna mute myself.
make sure that you bring the guest out. I know that he's been waiting in the green room for some time, so make sure that he has everything that you need, okay? And in the meantime, I'm going to talk about the Spotlight nonprofit for the month. As you all know, or if you don't, you're going to find out today. April is Autism Awareness Month. And you all know that my daughter, Melissa, is autistic. And I traditionally support Autism Speaks with their fundraising activities during the month of April. They usually would do pre-COVID. They used to do an Autism Speaks walk. This year, because of, again, COVID and everything, they have shifted things a little bit. And instead, what they are doing is that they are doing a virtual 5K that is going to take place on July 4th. The very first one was actually July 4th of last year. I was able to participate very proudly. And this year I am going to participate again. So at this point, I am going to offer Autism Speaks as the Spotlight Nonprofit of the Month. I will be sharing the link for the fundraiser that I'm doing for this walk. I may change the goal if I reach it. I started with $250 and I met that goal rather handily. And right now I bumped it to $500. So for any of you out there who are listening and would like to support an organization that helps families and children with autism, Autism Speaks is the premier organization for autism and autism support in the community. That's autismspeaks.org. And I'll be sharing the link to my fundraiser for the July 4th virtual 5K. And now, without further ado, we have our very, very, very special guest joining us right now. One Mr. Wonk Phillips.
Thank you so much, Rocky. It's a pleasure to be here on Room 13.
Well, we're very glad that you were able to come out of the green room. I know that you're only a few doors down, but we wanted to make sure that you were comfortable staying here with us in our very exclusive room 13. So I hope that we can make you feel welcome. Why don't you tell everybody why you're visiting us today?
Well, I talked to Fish, and Fish said I should participate with the dad jokes and help out where I can. And I just wanted to come down here and peruse what you guys got down here. It's very nice. I see you have a pumpkin bud over there in the corner, and I'm looking right at him, and it's very nice. It's very nice. I see you got the Odyssey stuff here and the Mojo stuff here. It's very nice, and the APR coffee. It's
Mm-hmm.
not my sexual chocolate, but
We promise we will make it right, Mr. Wonk Phillips. We promise we will have some of Ron's sexual chocolate in the corner here in the room. But as you know, APR Coffee, American Pride Roasters Coffee, is the official sponsor of the Dad Jokes section. They don't tell funny dad jokes. They can't sing karaoke to save their lives. And their magic mic routine, well, it should never ever be seen again by any human or animal eyes. But they do make the world's best coffee. Go to AmericanPrideRoasters.com, AmericanPrideRoasters.com, and get yourself some delicious coffee. I am having some of the JFK right now. So, Mr. Wonk Phillips, I assume that you were having a cup of your own brew.
I got some of Brad's brown bag in me right now. So
I'm sure that you asked for Brad's permission.
it's understood in the relationship clause and we have in our contract.
All
It's
right,
part of the
all right.
benefits section.
All right, all right. Now, this is the dad joke section. Do you happen to have a dad joke with you?
I'm just not that funny. I'm sorry.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm very sure.
Okay, well, in that case,
Ooh, I thought of one. It just hit me. It
Okay.
just hit me.
Go ahead. You're
Rocky,
the guest of honor. Mm-hmm.
Rocky,
Yes.
why can't pirates finish the alphabet?
I don't know. Why can't pirates finish the alphabet?
Because they get lost at sea. Arr. Thank you very much. Nailed it. God dog.
That's
If
actually
you're not
quite
laughing at
good.
that, if you're not laughing at that, you can kiss a good man's ass.
That's right. That's right. That's how I've heard it too.
I am going to go, though,
Oh.
while you play the rest of these lovely jokes and
Yes.
give Fish back his chair. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for stopping by, Mr. Wonk Phillips. It's a pleasure. Hopefully, it is not the last time that we see you. That, ladies and gentlemen, was one Mr. Wonk Phillips. And if you are not watching on Facebook, you are missing out because this is a masterpiece. This is funnier if you're watching this.
Definitely a visual thing.
Definitely a visual, yes. So we do
This-
have a couple of extra jokes. So before time gets away from us, we are going to share those with you now.
This is Amtrak from the Tin Can Radio program, posted on Spreaker each Sunday morning, bringing you another joke. How did the Germans back in the day used to tie their shoestrings? They used to tie them with little Nazis.
This was another one from our good friend Lep.
Good morning, Room 13. It's your favorite leprechaun who will be guest hosting American Echo Radio later today at 1 p.m. Eastern. Hey, I got a couple of dad jokes for you guys. What do you call a fish with no eye? A fish. Ooh, that's bad. Police arrest a water bottle because it's wanted in 3 different states: solid, liquid, and gas. Ooh, hope it's a great day for you all. Peace out, everybody. We'll see you next week.
I thought you would know the fish joke.
I saw it coming. I didn't get out of the way. I didn't even get out of the way.
Here is one from our good friend, Knights Who Say Nee.
This is the Knights Who Say Nee. One Easter, a father was teaching his kid to drive when out of nowhere, a rabbit jumped on the road. Slamming on the brakes, the child exclaims, "Oh no, Dad! I nearly ruined Easter. I almost ran over the Easter bunny." To which his father replied, "It's okay, son. You missed it by a hair."
Oh, for Pete's sake. Son of a gun.
It gets better every time I hear it, though. And this one is very, very special to me because this is our mom joke of the week.
Hey guys, it's Mrs. Fish here with a mom joke. I was
You know
just
that.
watching an Australian cooking show, and the chef made this meringue. And the Australian crowd went crazy, cheering and clapping for this meringue, which really confused me because Australians usually boo meringue. Thank you very much.
Oh, crickets. Crickets.
No. She gets the rim shot. She gets the rim shot because that's funny. Boomerang.
Boomerang. Boomerang. Hey, did we get one more?
I don't know. Did we have another one? Oh, yes. I did get a very special message from our fluffy, livable spider, Mr. 209, and he sent me this joke on Twitter. How does a spider pack up and move? Well, we crawl. So all children crawl up on our back, and then you go. We call this a backpack.
Oh, it's contagious. It's contagious.
Everybody has a dad joke.
Well-
Everybody has a dad joke, mom joke, lame joke, silly joke, kids jokes. Jokes are jokes. So there you go. So it's time for a couple stories.
Do we have time for stories? Because our guest in studio kind of took up some time.
Oh, we have some time. We have probably about 9 minutes thereabouts.
Okie dokie.
All right. So, quoth the raven, I want more. So apparently, a group of ravens are stealing food from people when they come out of a Costco in Alaska. Yes. Ravens are accused of stealing groceries from Alaska Costco customers. They know what they're doing. It's not their first time, one customer said. They're very fat, so I think they've got a whole system there. Fat ravens. Not just the football players. In Anchorage, Alaska, some Alaska Costco shoppers said they've had their groceries stolen by ravens in the store parking lot. Matt Llewellyn said he was packing his groceries into his car in the parking lot of an Anchorage Costco when ravens swooped in to steal a short rib from his cart. The Anchorage Daily News reported Friday. I literally took 10 steps away and turned around. 2 ravens came down and instantly grabbed one out of the package, ripped it off, and flew off with it. Llewellyn said the piece of meat was about 4 by 7 inches, a sizable meal for a sizable bird.
Dang.
They know what they're doing. It's not their first time, he said. They're very fat, so I think they've got a whole system there. And once he got back home, he noticed that one of the ravens had taken a poke at another rib, but did not rob it. I cut that meat out and started marinating it, and my wife said, "That's gross. We should take it back." Costco actually took it back even after we had started marinating them and gave us a full refund. Good on Costco
Wow.
for that, even though it wasn't their fault.
Yeah.
Additional raven thief sightings have emerged on social media. My parents were minding their business after a shop and made it home with one last steak, Kimberly Waller wrote on Facebook. The bird snatched it right out of the pack in the parking lot. Anchorage resident Tamara Josie replied to Waller's post and referred to the ravens as calculating. She said ravens hovered her in an attempt to steal her groceries. I had 2 ravens, one that was on the car next to me, and he kept squawking really loud, Josie said. He would sit on the car and stare at me, then hop next to the bed of the truck on the other side, and he kept going back and forth. The other raven was on the ground. He kept trying to pull. I had those little mini melons you have in the mesh baggies. He kept trying to grab the netting and pull the melons off the cart. A raven started to fly in a circle around Josie until she got them to scram. He was waiting.
Phil. Distract her.
He was waiting for another opportunity to grab the melons off the cart, but they were never deterred. They just stayed posted there, waiting for their next opportunity to steal something out of my cart. They are very dedicated on their mission. A manager at an Anchorage Costco declined to comment to the newspaper about the raven thieves. The Anchorage Audubon Society tallies the raven population every December. The group reported 923 common ravens in 2018, 621 in 2019, and 750 birds in 2020. Rick Sinnott, a former wildlife biologist with the State Department of Fish and Game, said hundreds of ravens fly to Anchorage in the winter for food. Clearly, they shop at Costco. That's why they go. That's why they go to Alaska. After winter turns into spring, most of the ravens leave. But before they do, the ravens stick around to pluck assorted meats, fruits, and vegetables. And there you go.
Did you read the bottom part of the article? I guess the police made an arrest.
Oh, yes. This is the very last line of the article. It says, for years, decades, they've watched people in parking lots of grocery stores with all this food. They know what a piece of fruit looks like in a grocery cart because they've seen it on the ground or seen it in a garbage can.
Oh, no. The Anchorage police actually made an arrest. And I guess the raven they arrested, I guess he gave a quote to the newspaper. Did you not see it?
No, I didn't. What did the raven say?
Never more, never more, never more.
Because there was no more food to steal.
Sure.
Your turn, Mr. Fish.
A Florida naked woman rescued from a storm drain after an unknown length of time. Delray Beach.
Not me.
No, and I have questions about this article already.
Mm-hmm.
Delray Beach Fire Rescue said it was unclear how long she'd been in the 8-foot pit. Why not just ask her? A naked Florida woman was rescued from Delray Beach storm drain Tuesday after becoming trapped for an unknown length of time, authorities said. Crews dropped a ladder and harness down the drain to lift her out after a passerby heard someone calling for help from below. The storm drain is about 8 feet deep, local authorities said. But after the rescue, authorities learned she had been missing for weeks. The Sun Sentinel reported it's unclear how long she was trapped or what happened to her clothes. That's the important question, along with, is she hot? There are no pictures of her so far, so I don't know yet.
Yeah, we have to do some digging then to see what this woman looks like, for starters. It's very important.
She was lucky. Delray Fire Rescue spokesperson Dani Muschietti told the paper, I butchered your name, dude. I'm so sorry. I don't know how much longer she would have been okay down there. The idea that somebody might be down there for any length of time is disturbing. It's dirty, it's dangerous. There's snakes, rats, garbage, dirt, and leaves, anything on the street that washes into a sewer, and it smells terrible. And she was naked, y'all. Images of the operation shared on Facebook on Delray Beach Fire Rescue show first responders holding a sheet around the drain for her privacy. Only a pair of scuffed, bloody knees can be seen of the victim before she's loaded onto a stretcher en route to the hospital for medical treatment. Local police were looking into how the woman wound up in the drain and how long she was there.
I'd be curious to know, because if she was reported missing, then you can kind of guesstimate how long she had been in the storm drain for. I mean, unless she went somewhere else and then ended up there, for like a day or two. But I'd be curious to know what the follow-up to the story is.
Did she get washed down the storm drain? I'm picturing this big water thing, and she's like, oh no, it's not, the puddle's not that deep, and all of a sudden she gets swept down the street.
How wide is this storm drain?
How thin is she?
I suppose I think that there's more to the story. I don't want to make any assumptions because you know what happens when you assume, but I wonder if drugs and or alcohol were a factor.
Yeah, that was kind of the subtitle I was like waiting for, was the whole, you know, and she was found with 10 pounds of marijuana, cocaine, meth,
Yes, if
anything.
she was the illicit drugs had been found in her system,
See,
kind of
now,
stuff.
when I was doing research this week, because that's what I
Hmm.
do for you people, that's what Rocky and I both do. We spend
Oh
countless
yes.
hours scanning for funny,
Hmm.
non-COVID, non-political jokes.
Hmm.
And it's tough. It's really tough to find something funny and something entertaining.
It
I
is.
found other articles that I thought might be the same one,
Hmm.
referring to a swimmer that was lost in a storm drain in Florida that had lost her clothes. So I'm still at a confusion as to where did the clothes go?
If you were a swimmer, what kind of swimsuit were you wearing that you lost your clothes? You know what? I don't know. It's Florida. We all know that the state of Florida is full of crazy people and full of crazy stories. But before we come to the end of the show, don't forget April 11th is the last day for the beard growing competition between one Mr. Riverfish and Mr. Sean 6 Whiskey from Off Track. So everybody stay tuned because we will be taking some votes on that. And speaking of that, it's time to close the show. Mr. Fish, say goodnight.
Good night, fish.
Thanks for sticking by, guys. Guys and girls, everybody here.
That went by quick. Again, that went by quick.
It always does. It
That's
always does.
Weirdest damn thing where it's kind of like, and that was an hour. Damn.
That's the thing, folks. For those of you who are still sticking around with us for the housekeeping portion of the show, Fish and I always say that our show is actually 2 hours. Here's Mr. Wong Phillips.
Thank you to our puppeteer that made this. It
Our
wasn't me.
intern, our intern. She is our intern. Our set. What do they call that? Set designer, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
One
I gave her a
one
picture
little
of,
fish. She's one of the little fish.
I gave her a picture of Ron, and I'm like, it has to resemble this. And she's like, what's wrong with his eye? I'm like, don't worry about it. Just make sure it looks. She's like,
That's
"Do you
what
want
he
me to
looks
fix-
like.
Do you want me to fix his eye? I'm like, no.
No.
I'm like, you make it wonky. She's like, okay. And she figured it out. I'm like, hot damn it. She figured it out. But I just interrupted the story.
It is. No, that's fine. I'm just what story?
I don't know. This goes by quick, though. I mean,
Yes, it does. Oh, yes. So we were talking about that. How we always say that our show is actually like we have so much content that we could probably fit it into 2 hours, but I'd
But we
rather not.
won't.
I'd rather not. I like the fact that we're just 1 hour. You know, we're like a little. We're like an appetizer. We're like an appetizer to the rest of the programming on Mojo 50, which we hope that since you're still here watching us, that you'll stick around and you'll watch and listen to the rest of the content on Mojo 50. Tons of really great shows. Follow ours. Continue supporting the network. Just because
skip over to-
we're supporting Autism Speaks doesn't mean that you stop supporting Mojo 50.
Or go over to Odyssey. Check out all the cool little things on
Mhm.
Odyssey. They do some great fictional stories,
Yes.
nonfiction stuff. They do some weird. If you like that kind of stuff, and I do, I like cryptid stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
love cryptozoology.
Mm-hmm.
If you're into that kind of stuff, go over to Odyssey. I mean, they do the alien stuff and the Bigfoot stuff and all the different, cryptids that are out there and some really cool, what would you call it? Stories. They're the old time radio stuff.
Yes, that's probably one of my favorite things about Odyssey is that when I find myself that I'm like, maybe I'm not caught up in some of the podcasts that I listen to, but since, we always talk about how we're jaded out on politics and a lot of stuff like that, Odyssey is a great way to listen to other programming, but my favorite is definitely like the old time theater of the mind radio shows, it really kind of sets your imagination. Uh, uh, I would almost compare it to when you read and you form these ideas in your head of what it is that you're reading. So you're visualizing what you're reading. Well, to me, listening to these old time radio shows, sci-fi shows is about the same thing. You're still using your mind to recreate what is being narrated to you. It's the original audiobook
Yeah.
when you think about it. So please do support Odyssey. They are part of the Cuddle Me Buff umbrella of stations, along with Mojo 50 and Spoonie. And that's how we plug the rest of the other networks.
So next week, are we going to play Bean Boozled, or are we going to do the one chip challenge? Because it ain't me doing it this time. I've already done it once. You bought it. You still have it. You throw it
I
out?
bought it because my husband was supposed to eat it, but then he's like, "Oh, I'm trying to train myself for it." I'm like, "Listen, buddy, this isn't a marathon."
No, this is a dead sprint. You don't want it to last that long.
Like I always keep saying, I know my limitations, and I have some tolerance for hot foods.
You are
but
Puerto Rican
I wouldn't.
and Dominican.
Yes, but not all Puerto Ricans can dance.
No, clearly we know that.
So, as I've said, and there's plenty of Puerto Rican people out there who don't like spicy foods.
And they've been voted off the island.
Yes, well, they marry white people.
Yes, clearly.
Hey, I married a white person.
Because mashed potatoes and what other stuff do we like? What else do white people eat?
Mashed potatoes
Mayonnaise.
and meatloaf.
Mashed potatoes, meatloaf, and mayonnaise.
Listen, meatloaf's delicious.
If you do it right, yes, it is.
If you make your meatloaf completely flavorless and bland, then that's on you.
That's
Then
why
you
you add
deserve to
ketchup.
have your white privilege revoked.
I'm still not sure how to react to white privilege.
I don't know.
I've yet to have any kind of privilege.
Privilege?
Any
kind of
there's been none.
privilege.
Mm.
Also, look at my top for today. My Easter color. Oh, I forgot to say Happy Easter to our listeners. So this is my pastel stripes. And before I was wearing the burgundy ones.
Again, our freaking production sheet was freaking loaded with stuff, and I don't think we got to half of it.
We never
way.
do.
There's no way. And a lot of stuff gets thrown out and it's never seen flipping again. It's stuff that comes up like during the week where it's kind of like, oh, we could have done that. Oh, it's like the race car thing I brought up to you earlier in the week.
Well, maybe it's time that when we do our prep sheet, we just start creating a new one. Kind of copy and paste whatever we want to keep, and just leave the old one for the archive. So we have something to reference.
The only notes we have are either the shows we've produced or whatever text messages I've sent you.
And I get a lot of text messages from you. The majority of the memory on my phone is being used by your texts.
Yeah, sorry.
Just so you know. It's like a 64 gig memory phone, and most of it is being used by you.
Yeah. Because usually I'm driving and it's like, oh, I got an idea. And, there it goes. And,
And that is exactly how it happens too, folks. He always says, I have an idea. He always says it twice. He didn't realize it until I pointed it out to him the other day that he says it twice.
I tweeted the one idea out to everybody where I'm like, what if we got into the demolition derby? Because there's a demolition derby up here. And we could enter a room 13 car. It would only cost $300, and I have no problem forking over the money for it. I don't care. It'd be fun. And we can Photoshop, I can be there. You're in Florida, so we can Photoshop you next to the car too.
Yeah, thanks.
But what color would we paint a room 13 car? And if we were to offset the cost, would the listeners be willing to Patreon $2? And for that $2, I would write their name on the car and then send pictures of said car to them.
Hmm.
And then maybe I can put I have a GoPro. I can put the GoPro in the car. And for the people that did pay the $2, I would send them the video from inside the car during the Crash Up Derby.
Hmm.
The mind of a fish.
That's why you're the brains of this operation.
I am definitely not the brains of this crap. Don't blame this shit on me. There's no
We're
way.
both to blame for this shit.
Because I'm like, oh, that would be really cool. Or do we go
It is.
halvesies?
It's different.
Do we go halvesies with one of our brother sister shows, like Off Track, and we could split the car in half? Half of it would be a Room 13 car, half could be
an off-track car.
Or a Patrick Oni car, or who else is really nice with us?
A Cuddle Me Buff car.
Ooh, or a Liberty Lighthouse car. We can split it that way. And I had another idea too, and I don't remember what it was. Crap. It's on audio though. It's on video. I did tweet it. But I'm like, that
It's
could be
safe
fun.
for posterity.
I was just trying to figure out different ways to, have some fun.
I'm not against it.
Because I've always wanted to do the Crash Up Derby, and this would give me a reason.
There you go. That's something different.
A neat, fun thing. I mean, when marathons come back up, I'll wear a Room 13 shirt, where we did get a Room 13 shirt.
I know we have to work on that. We still have some people watching. If you have some ideas as to what kind of logo you would like to see, because Selfish and I have been going back and forth about getting Room 13 merchandise, but we're kind of like, well, what can it be?
Yeah, because Liberty Lighthouse,
where we're stuck.
I mean, if you look at the other shows, Liberty Lighthouse has a cool lighthouse and it says Liberty Lighthouse. And it's very
Off Track
eye-catching.
has the train, and they have like the microphone too. It's like, well, what do we have at Room 13?
Yeah, Room 13. What does that say to you?
What does Room 13 mean to you?
Because we have a hashtag now. I like our hashtag.
Yes, shenanigans. Hashtag shenanigans. We forgot to talk about that on the show.
Yeah, crap. We're talking about it now. You're still recording.
Yes, we're still recording. We're still here.
So it's trying to figure out what else we can do. I mean, we were always looking for a hashtag, and I think that's it.
No, we are full of shenanigans.
What does a Room 13 logo look like?
Other than a door? Because that's been our logo since the beginning.
But it's very dark. I want more colors.
It should be more like hotel room colors.
Something bright, something eye-catchy, something, I don't know.
And this is where we need your help.
Yeah, because I don't know what the hell would look like. I mean, Room 13 sounds very dark and ominous, and that's the logo we have now.
Yeah, I mean, 13 is usually associated with bad luck, which
and it's just
to us it
door.
doesn't. Yeah.
On a nice note, I've been in talk with 2 different companies this week about sponsoring us. We've already talked about one, and the apparel company I'm waiting for a reply on.
Good.
So
good. Hopefully we can get a good pricing out of that.
The hot dog company, who shall be nameless right now,
shall remain nameless. Yes.
And the apparel company, who I have a tenuous, is tenuous the right word? Shoestring connection with.
Okay.
Because I tweet at everybody all the freaking time, so I've made a lot of friends. I've made friends with a lot of people.
Yes. Clearly, Fish is our marketing manager.
We have a wrestler. Did you know we have a wrestler? I didn't tell you about that, did I?
I don't think you did.
We have a wrestler. Moondog Greg, if you're listening, is a independent wrestler touring, I believe, the Midwest and all points around the country. He just started about a year ago. He looks freaking awesome. Do you remember? Oh, you watched wrestling back in the 80s. Do you remember the Moondogs? Moondog Spot, Moondog Rex? They had the long blonde hair and the long blonde beard. They came to the ring with that big ass bone.
Yeah.
He looks like they're a illegitimate love child.
Okay. All right.
He's a young
kid.
kid.
It's almost like carrying that tradition.
Yeah, I think
Almost.
Greg is Greg's in his 20s.
Okay.
Good kid. I've been talking to him for a year now, And he's been doing some cool matches. He's a fan favorite. He's got a lot of pictures with kids. The kids seem to like him, and I don't know why. It might be the barking. So he is our unofficial official wrestler.
Yay. We have a wrestler.
What else do we have? I think that's it so far.
I don't know.
I
don't know.
talk to a lot of people and I forget sometimes. It's like, oh, cool. I didn't know they liked our show. There's been a couple people, blue checkmark people are freaking contacting us. It's really weird.
I mean, it's good. It's good for us. Yes, it's also good for the network. So how I'm all for it. I mean, yes, we're individual shows, and we have our own levels of production. We have our own different content, different personalities. But the way I see it is like, if the network ends up benefiting from it, then I'm not against it.
Because the cool thing is, I was talking to Pete Seraphin from Liberty Lighthouse, and he has also entered the contest we have entered for sponsorship from one beverage company.
Really?
Yeah, we were talking. I talked to Pete a lot, and I mentioned it to Pete,
Mhm.
and he's like, "Really?" He's like, "Can I still enter?" I'm like, "Yes, you can," and I will cheerlead for him. I'm like, if they
Of
win,
course. Nothing wrong with friendly competition. And again, it's
because if
we
he
may
wins,
we may win, we may not win,
if he wins this prize, which is fairly substantial,
hmm
then we win, because it still means more eyes on the network. So I
Yes.
really can care. I don't want to say I could care less, but if one of us wins, I'll be happy.
Yes.
So that's cool with me.
Yeah. It's almost like like winning the Super Bowl. You didn't play in the game, but it is your hometown or your whatever,
Why would you bring up that analogy, knowing about what team I root for and where I live?
Well, I mean, I don't support necessarily any football team, but I'm just saying, it's like,
We've lost 4 times in a row, right?
yeah, and it's not like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won the Super Bowl or anything. Oh, wait.
There's a company that won't sponsor us.
What?
Pair Eyewear.
Pair Eyewear,
I think they're still mad at us.
they messed up another order of mine.
See? And that's why.
And that's why I'm like, bring your customer service to standard. And I still follow their Instagram accounts. And now the majority of the comments that I'm seeing is of people complaining about how their customer service department is unresponsive, or that they end up sending the wrong product, which they have. And it's one of those things, like, I really want to love you. I really want to love your company clearly. And I've bought so many of these tops, and I love the fact that I can change it. This is the base frame. Right now I have 2 tops on. So I'm going to take my top off. I'm going to put my top back on.
Oh, see, now we could help them with their PR if they need some,
Yes.
lively people to pimp their product.
For the adult frames, because so the company has 5 style base frames. 3 of them are geared for kids. Like, they're smaller frames. Their third size frame is for 9 to 12 years, but I ended up measuring my old eyeglass frame, and it is almost the exact size. So had I known, I would have just purchased that frame instead of the one that I have. The one that I have is like a little bit longer at the bottom, and the one that they had is about like a finger less. So it's a little bit smaller. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But I've already purchased so many of these tops that I'm actually just considering buying another frame in a different color, so that I just have a backup.
You know who I'm going to reach out to now, don't you?
Who?
Blue Chew. After today's episode,
After that story, that is a testimonial, my friend.
I think I'm going to reach out to Blue Chew and see if I can't.
I wasn't sure where you were going to go with that story, but I'm glad it worked out for you. Like I said, a lot of these products are sold online and on TV because you hear about ageless male and what is it, Extends or whatever it's called. I work in retail, so I see what these things are. And I'm always like, that's such a crock of crap.
I thought about it when I told the story, and I'm like thinking in my head, I'm like, I should really reach out to them. They might actually sponsor the show. Hi. Yes, we're finished. The boss is here.
The boss is here, the other boss. Anyway, we're going to leave it here, folks. Bye. Have a great weekend. We'll see you all next week. Bye.